the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County, and on behalf of the board and the staff, welcome to the 6th annual Daniel E. Offutt III Arts and Cultural Empowerment Awards Breakfast, also known as the ACE Awards. In the room today, I would like to recognize and thank some of our board members. Maybe you can just give a little wave. 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗏𝗪𝗏, past president of the board. 𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗶𝗏, vice president of the board. Kim Healy. And we have one more coming, Patricia Rattray, who's not here yet. The ACE Awards celebrate the incredible talent, generosity, and creativity of Fairfield County. And each of today's awardees has made a significant impact on the vibrancy of our cultural community. Thank you all for joining us this morning for the celebration. I would like to recognize our legislators who have joined us today. Maybe you can give a little wave also. All of them recognize and support the importance of arts and culture to our communities. Senator Bob Duff, Senator Tony Wang, and who we want to thank for our citations for our awardees. Representatives Lucy Dathan, Corey Paris, Jonathan Steinberg, Stephanie Thomas, and John Michael Parker. We also have First Lady Lucy Rilling, and First Select Woman Jen Tooker. Have I missed anyone? Okay, I'll keep going. I'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsors, starting with our major sponsor for these awards, the Daniel E. Offutt III Private Foundation Trust. This year's award sponsors are Gary Cosgrave, the Lundberg Family Foundation, and Spinnaker Real Estate Partners. Gold sponsors are Cindy Rainey and team, Fairfield County Bank, and WSHU Public Radio. Silver sponsors are Cohen and Wolf and Leifer Properties. We thank you all. A special thanks to our dedicated and hard-working Executive Director, David Green. David has led us and our members so effectively through the restrictions that were brought about by the pandemic. And thank you to CAFC staff, Lori Lewis and Wendy Packer, and consultants John Cusano, Angela Frusanti, and Jessica Mrazovich, who are all passionate about what they do and whose efforts help to make CAFC better and better every day. These have been a challenging couple of years for all of us, but also for the arts, culture, and tourism sector. The effects of COVID closed performances and businesses, caused layoffs, and devastated the industry as a whole. In 2020, our ACE Awards were postponed to a virtual event in October. The June 2021 ACE Awards breakfast was canceled altogether. We are happy to be able to celebrate our awardees in person again this year. The impact of impending catastrophe has had a major impact on our members and on our own organization, bringing all of us closer together, realizing more than ever that as an alliance we depend on each other, learn from each other, and are stronger together. We worked with members to find new forms of financial support. We helped each other try to understand the COVID restrictions and the complex rules for reopening. The rise of the Black Lives Matter movement helped us to recognize the need for diversity and inclusion in our communities. We helped each other identify and acknowledge the impact of racism and inequity on our everyday lives and continue to work together to find ways to change this through our engagement in arts and culture. We are now a growing organization with wonderful human resources at our disposal. We thank our members, many of whom are here today, and please help us to continue to support this alliance of over 550 artists, nonprofits, and creative businesses. And a special thanks to the next gentleman who has been a champion of CAFC for many years, as well as an incredible advocate for the arts, and in particular, arts education. I would like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Tony Award-winning theater, film, and television actor and director, Mr. 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗪𝗶.
Well, we'll see. Good morning, everyone. Isn't it nice for us all to be together again? First time in 3 years? 3 years ago it was. Forgive me for a moment while I try to figure out how many microphones an MC actually needs. The one in my hand. Okay. There's a joke there somewhere, but I'm not going to go there. Well, welcome to the, see, we have 2 microphones and no light. To the 6th year of our Arts and Cultural Empowerment Awards. As Cheryl said, we are very grateful to all of the sponsors of the awards this year, but we are especially grateful to the Daniel E. Offutt III Charitable Trust, as a substantial contribution to the Cultural Alliance has been made, and we are now naming our awards in honor of that donation. So thank you very much. The Cultural Alliance is now in its 13th year, and as you can see from the program, it is and has been thriving. With almost 600 members. That's an extraordinary statistic, isn't it? Artists, nonprofits, creative businesses across the 15 towns of our coastal Fairfield County region, and with a reach even further with our eBuzz, our newsletters and radio broadcasts. We're always at work building a network connecting artists, cultural nonprofits, and creative businesses to each other and to a growing public. Well, like all the arts, culture, and tourism industries, there have been very difficult times over the past 2 years. However, remarkably, COVID drew us together in many ways, and we are stronger and more ambitious than we were before. We're expanding our services, and in the past year, we have hired a new marketing director and a new development director. And as our programs and services expand, there is now, of course, guess what? An increasing need for additional staffing and support. That means funding to keep the ball rolling. Anybody want to just jump in here and say, okay, I got $1,000 toward that new staffing? If you do, just raise your hand. Okay, I'll ask you, thank you, John. Thank you, John Vaccaro. There's one. Anybody want to match John? You want to get in the boat with John? Well, I don't mean literally. Anyway, thank you. That's at the start. There's a second one. We have 2. There's 2 right off the top. There are ways for you to do this besides raising your hand. You can look at the envelopes and the programs on your tables. There's a QR code on the back of the program. Does anybody know what a QR code stands for? Actually, it means quick response. See, I Googled it this morning before I came here. And you can Google it. You know what to do. You take a picture of it, and you can donate. You don't have to do it right now. But I might mention this again later on, because that's what it says on my script, you see. Doing the job. Focusing. And now I'd like to introduce one of the key figures in the cultural infrastructure of the state. He is the executive director of Connecticut Humanities, and he has a very, very distinguished bio, which I'm going to read to you, and then I'll introduce him to you. He joined the Connecticut Humanities as executive director in 2018. He's also co-founder of the 𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗺 Educational Initiative and former executive director of the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 Museum. That's not an easy thing to say after only 1 cup of coffee. And Research Center. Currently, Mellon Visiting Fellow in Slavery and Justice at Brown University. He has served as Adjunct Professor of Anthropology at the University of Connecticut, Visiting Assistant Professor of Anthropology at Connecticut College, Visiting Assistant Professor of History at Brown University, and Social Sciences Instructor at the Sea Education Association. He holds a PhD in anthropology from the University of Connecticut with expertise in the archaeology and ethnohistory of New England. Please welcome our guest, Dr. Jason Mancini. Ron, class of 67.
Wow, I don't know where you got hold of that bio. Not sure I can outdo that. It's great to be here. It's great to see everybody. What an exciting event. I don't think we could ever pull anything like this together in Eastern Connecticut. So congrats to David and his team. We have something to aspire to. We've made some substantial change in investment in the cultural infrastructure of this state in the last year, and we're planning more for the year ahead. I'm incredibly grateful to the legislative support and to the governor for the investment they've made in the Connecticut Cultural Fund, and to David Layman and Liz Shapiro at the ECD and the Office of the Arts for their incredible partnership with Connecticut Humanities so that we can bring together and bring to bear the resources to really rise the tide that lifts all the boats in our state. I know I only have 2 minutes, so I'm going to keep it really short. We have, in the last year, funded in Fairfield County 146 organizations and $4.5 million to all of you, arts and humanities. And when we say arts, culture, and tourism, I like to think of culture as the humanities part. But we are making and will continue to make and sustain this type of investment in the coming year. We've got another $8.5 million of cultural fund coming. Stay tuned. This summer we'll be making announcements and we'll be having operating support awards in December. And just one more thing before I turn the mic over to Liz, and she's probably tired of me saying this, but if we're not looking out at the horizon of 2026 with America 250, we will be remiss. That's our horizon line at Connecticut Humanities. 4 years from now, on July 4th, 2026, we'll be celebrating nationhood. So moving the arts and cultural sector not just towards our work in identifying with the rich cultural heritage in Connecticut, but imagining a more perfect union as we head into the future. I think my 2 minutes is up, so Liz.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mancini. Did you see in your program all the groups, we call them communities of practice, that the Cultural Alliance fosters for executive directors, for marketing officers, for historical societies, even a data task force, 8 of them in all so far. And so this is further evidence that we need increased support. Did I mention support? To keep these groups going. And so you have on your tables, I don't know if you've heard this before, on your programs in the back, there's a QR code. Do you feel as if this is Groundhog Day? And this guy just keeps repeating the same thing over and over again. QR, yes. Take a look at your QR code, and David Green will be personally very happy and come to your house and thank you for it. Okay, another very important person in the cultural infrastructure of our state is, and Dr. Mancini mentioned her, Elizabeth Shapiro. Liz was appointed Director of Arts, Preservation, and Museums in 2019 and oversees the Connecticut Office of the Arts and the State Historic Preservation Office. Prior to her position with the state, she spent 6 years as the Executive Director of the Connecticut League of History Organizations. She served as executive director of the Sharon Historical Society and worked as a consultant to nonprofit organizations in the areas of governance and strategic planning. Liz Shapiro attended Haverford College, received a master's degree in history museum studies from the Cooperstown graduate program. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Liz Shapiro.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And everybody who knows me knows if you give me a handheld mic, I will be around the room in 5 seconds. So I'm going to hold on here to Kathy Mara's laughing. So thank you. It is a pleasure to be here. And it's really hard when you follow the introduction that Jason had in his bio to my bio. So I was sticking my tongue out at him the entire time. I just call Jason my friend. And I think that that's the key, really, to the last 2.5, 3 years. I always talk about pandemic abundance and pandemic deficit. We know what the deficit was. We all know that. But there was a lot of abundance, and especially for the arts in Connecticut, and especially for me and you guys here, because I work in Hartford, I live in Groton. It's far. And so I only get here, when I really plan my day. But a lot of you in the room, I got to actually meet and got to know through all these new technologies that we've used over the past few years. And I'm looking at some of you around the room. So if I haven't met you in person, come up to me and please say hi. I will stick around because this is exciting and I'm a hugger and I'd like to hug you. Thanks, John. Very, very quickly, John's a hugger too. Very, very quickly, I just want to say the Fairfield Cultural Alliance, the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County, David and I have known each other since my days at the Connecticut League of History Organizations. We had a partnership then, and I think the key to success in this world that we are living in and the world that we are going into and will have to navigate from now on is partnership. I am looking around the room at so many partners, and the greatest of all partners in the room today is the Cultural Alliance. The Cultural Alliance is one of the Office of the Arts' 8 designated regional service organizations, which means that David and his staff are the feet on the street throughout the Fairfield region to connect you guys with us. So not that you can't come to me personally, and people do, and that's my job, so please feel free. But if there's something you want to share, David, to me, it takes literally sometimes 15 minutes, especially if it's first thing in the morning, because we're both really early birds. You will get heard, and that is the goal, right? That's good government, that constituents get heard, and that is super important to me. So I would congratulate all the winners today. The arts have been at the heart of survival during the last 2.5 years. We know this. We know it in our hearts, we know it in our heads, we know it by looking at statistics and talking to people about what was important, what was really important, what helped you get through these times. Well, creating art, participating in art, watching art, all of those things were so important. So I laud everybody here today for what they do. You guys are terrific. That's gonna be the end of my 2 minutes, which was probably more, but now I get to pivot and I get to introduce Commissioner of the Department of Economic and Community Development, David Layman, and he informed me that I did not need to read his bio, his official bio, because really, frankly, those are boring. I'm gonna tell you instead that David's first day of work, the day before your new boss shows up on the first day of work, you look at their bio and you're like, really? Why? Why does this person want to be in this place at this time? And remember, this was before we even thought there could be a pandemic. And very quickly, what we found out is that David had my favorite characteristic of any person, and that is curiosity. David asked questions. David admitted, I don't really know about that. I said, David, I need you to come and speak at our first Arts Day or second Arts Day. I think it's in 2 weeks. And he's like, sure. What do we do with the arts, right? But that's normal. That's what you would expect. And so I told him, and he listened, and that's what he's been doing for the last 3+ years, 3.5 years, almost 4 years, that he's been with the Department of Economic and Community Development. He listens to people. He's an amazing listener. And yeah, I could go on, but David is a person who behind the scenes quietly led us, the state of Connecticut, through this pandemic. He paid attention to the arts. He always responds to emails from all of his staff, and particularly me, in relationship to what was going on with you all when there was an issue, when it was time to pay attention, when it was time to figure out how a regulation could affect you and make life better for you. And for that, I will be eternally grateful to him, and I love having him as my boss. David.
I thought I'd commence the hugging right out of the back. Well, let me just say a couple things at the outset. Can everyone hear me all right in the back? Perfect. All right. First off, I actually didn't want my bio read after hearing Mancini's bio. I think I have the fewest graduate and college degrees of anyone that's spoken so far, so I wanted to start with that. But let me just say I really appreciate being here after this. I guess hasn't happened in person in 3 years. And I get the opportunity to go around the state and be at events like this and interact with people of all different sectors. And it's really, you realize how much we almost took it for granted before COVID and how appreciated and welcome it is right now. I will say, and I see Brian over here with the Norwalk Chamber, most of my time is focused on talking to companies, chambers of commerce, various business groups, and I can already tell this is a much cooler and hipper crowd than I'm used to. So you'll have to bear. No offense, Brian. You'll have to bear with me, but I typically don't do this level of coolness. But joking aside, in my 3+ years as DECD commissioner, I've developed, as Liz mentioned, a really deep appreciation and understanding for Connecticut's arts, culture, and humanities, and what it means to our residents, and importantly, what it means to our economy, more now than ever post-COVID. So being a numbers guy, let me just start by saying I do gravitate towards the economic impact first, and many of you know this, or all of you probably know this, but arts contributes roughly $10 billion, arts alone, forget about tourism for a second, to the state economy, which is almost 3.5% of the state economy as of 2020. That is a considerable impact. But I certainly know and appreciate that numbers alone, you can't measure the impact of arts and what it means to people and residents of this state just in those numbers. So as Liz mentioned it and Jason mentioned it, working with the arts and culture team through the pandemic was really, really important. And it really helped me in my role as Commissioner of Economic Development develop a new appreciation for the ways that arts impacts Connecticut residents and really makes Connecticut residents and others feel important and gives them a sense of who they are and what it means to be in Connecticut, again, especially after the pandemic. Let me give you a couple of examples. Arts has always been, again, now more than ever, a tool for healing, especially during the pandemic and after the pandemic, and creating a space to have nuanced conversations about all sorts of difficult topics. Connecticut's art community came to the aid of so many who were isolated because of the pandemic through virtual programs and arts classes online. In addition, arts has always been a bridge to have conversations about equity and justice, which are now more important than ever in Connecticut and all across our country, and how a diversity of voices leads to creative and dynamic problem solving. Whether it be building new bridges to justice-impacted teens by providing them with job opportunities in the arts, or providing mentoring and support networks for up-and-coming artists, Connecticut's arts ecosystem is dynamic, strong, and resilient, and we're seeing that right here in this room in Fairfield County. I mention resilience because it is the first word that comes to my mind when I think about this sector and how it navigated COVID in particular. I heard Cheryl's comments about the complex regulations. Let me apologize for that in COVID. You can blame me for some of those. But COVID, just on a more serious note, COVID was incredibly uncertain, and we were all trying to manage it best we could. I was part of a small group that worked very closely with the governor to establish ways to safely reopen Connecticut and let Connecticut residents engage in arts and beyond. And also, importantly, a lot of the grants that arts organizations and cultural organizations achieved. And this is probably a good time to thank Dr. Jason Mancini and Liz Shapiro for their tremendous work at helping get those money out. what Liz didn't share about when I'm responding to her emails is typically it was, hey, bonehead, we need to do this. Get the governor here, and but Jason and Liz's advocacy for arts and culture and the money and grants that were needed, we had an economy that just stopped. And certainly the federal government provided a lot of response to venues and the like, but at times it was delayed. So we wanted to make sure that we were reacting with state funds as best we can. And we have lots of advocates in the room, but Jason and Liz were constantly letting me know, we need to do something, we need to do something. And if I wasn't responding quick enough, they would keep at me. And I think that's one of the reasons you saw a lot of the response you saw during the pandemic, and we have lots of legislators here in the room as a function of the additional grants that have come. I think $50 million in aggregate in this last budget to support arts and culture organizations across the state of Connecticut. So really, really important. So going back to COVID, it was a trying time. Arts community did what it always did. It persevered, and that is true, and again, you see that here today. I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about some of the changes we're doing at DECD to embrace arts, culture, and also tourism. Some of you may have seen we've launched a new tourism campaign called Find Your Vibe, and we've done that with arts as well to highlight arts museums, make sure we're featuring them prominently in terms of what is the story of Connecticut? How are we selling Connecticut in terms of Connecticut's vibrancy, our diversity? And we want to make sure that we are not in the days of still revolutionary. We are moving towards a new Connecticut that is much more dynamic and has a much more vibrant economy. And you're going to see a lot more of that from us in the coming months and years, for that matter. It's also nice to see not just those in the state of Connecticut and Fairfield County here taking notice. It was flagged for me by Liz that there was an article, I think just last week, in Art News, and I'm going to quote this here. They ran an article that said, quote, "Northwestern Connecticut has become the secret epicenter of the contemporary art world." So high praise indeed, and I read the whole article. When you hear about things happening in Litchfield County, Fairfield County, it's really amazing, the art scene that Connecticut has, and we want to make sure that we, I don't know, some people might prefer to be the secret epicenter. I just want us to be the epicenter. So I think we need to get that word out and maintain what we love about Connecticut, but make sure that everyone is appreciating it and that we are continuing to invest in vibrant tourism and art scene. And obviously, it's not just Litchfield County, it is all of Connecticut where arts is having an impact and playing a huge role in the quality of life across the state. Let me just finish by maybe saying a couple things away from the arts, going back to the boring business stuff that I spend a lot of my time on, but I think is really important for all residents of the state, because it's really critical that Connecticut has a dynamic economy and that we're pushing on all cylinders. And we've really had a lot of positive things that I think we should all be proud of when we think about where the state is now and where the state's going. So first and foremost, we've seen record business starts in the state of Connecticut. Business starts are up 40% from before COVID. We're creating roughly 1,100 businesses in the state of Connecticut, and these are small businesses per month. And these are businesses that intend to hire and grow in the state of Connecticut. We haven't seen business starts that high in the state of Connecticut since 2006. In addition, a budget was just passed, and we have 8 or so legislators in the room that led that initiative, where there's been over $600 million in tax relief focused on low to middle income residents and families of the state. And it's tax relief focused on income, on property, on gas tax, on car tax, as well as things like eliminating the tax on pensions and annuities. That type of tax relief, in particular in this environment we're in, where inflation is eroding purchasing power, is really critical, and that was the largest tax relief that was provided to residents ever in the history of the state of Connecticut. Thirdly, the state has seen a tremendous improvement in our fiscal situation over the past 3 years. And this matters to everyone because it impacts what our children and grandchildren are going to need to pay back and the taxes that are levied on residents in the state. So over the past 3 years, in addition to our regularly scheduled paydowns of the state's pensions and underfunded pensions, there's been $5.2 billion of paydown of unfunded pensions. And for those that follow those numbers, that has been, in my opinion, still is one of the issues the state really needs to navigate. That's almost 15% of our pension obligations that were unfunded. Really, really considerable movement there in terms of getting those pensions funded and eliminating that problem so our kids and grandkids aren't paying those dollars back. We need to reduce that debt now. And lastly, the state has a best-in-class rainy day fund of over $3 billion. So, when and if the economy slows down, which certainly will happen, there's not going to be a need to cut back services or cut back funding or raise taxes for that matter. Having a rainy day fund in that amount is truly best in class versus other states, and it's a cushion the state really hasn't had before. So really, really considerable progress in terms of what's happening in the economy and what's happening with the state's fiscal situation that I just wanted to touch on very, very briefly here. So in closing, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with this esteemed group. I look forward to being here later this year or next year whenever the right opportunity is, and look forward to supporting the Arts and Culture Alliance. Thank you.
That's really impressive. Thank you very much, David Lehman. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but there are envelopes on your tables. If you don't like QRs, and if you don't have a phone, and you can't take a picture of the QR code, you don't have to do it that way. There's an envelope on your table and there's a pen there, because David Green thinks of everything. So if you want to take the envelope home and think about how much you'd like to commit to on your way home, then when you get there, you can sign it, you can put in your check, you can put a little stamp on it and do it the old-fashioned way, which is the way most of us have forgotten how to do things. We would like to thank Senator Tony Hwang for arranging citations from the Connecticut General Assembly for each of our awardees. We'll be presenting each citation along with the ACE Awards, which is, by the way, part of the reason that we are here tonight, to recognize those among us with these ACE Awards. And so, David, will you help me distribute these as we do one at a time? Thank you. Our first award goes to an artist. It recognizes a creative individual who demonstrates commitment to artistic excellence in their field, as well as someone who works for access, awareness, or advocacy for the arts and culture community. Our awardee this year is 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗏𝗪. She is a... That's okay. Come on up, and while you're coming, I'll tell them that she is a multifaceted visual artist whose signature medium is body painting. She's also an accomplished muralist with works featured throughout the city of Bridgeport. She co-chairs the annual Jane's Walk celebration of Bridgeport's civic and community leaders. And as a teacher devoted to young artists, she specializes in designing curricula to foster creativity, curiosity, self-awareness, and authenticity. David, please let us... Oh, yes. And here is 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗏𝗪.
Anything?
Sure, go ahead. I'll hold this for you. We'll hold this for you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm a little overwhelmed. I took some notes because I don't want to forget to first of all thank Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County and David for all that you do. And some of the organizations that have kept me employed for the last 2.5 years are actually in the building. Arts for Learning Connecticut is here. Bridgeport Downtown Special Services District. Thank you to the sponsors who are here who have helped to support this event. My family, and I literally have my whole immediate family here, which is, it's such a blessing because a lot of people can't say that. So I'm just so happy to have my entire immediate family here, some really close friends. My aunt is here, my partner, my mom, my dad, both my kids. So I'm just excited to have them here. The biggest question that I've gotten, I feel like in the last 2.5 years, specifically around teaching art and being an artist, is why do I do it? And I think that for me, it's changed my life. When I was a kid, art was the thing that gave me a voice. It was the thing that allowed me to be exactly who I was, authentically, without question, truly my first love. And I feel like it's really important now for not just youth, but also adults to have the creative freedom to express themselves. And so I love teaching art. I love being an artist. And I think it's a privilege right now. And I feel like the last 2.5 years have really proven how important the arts are. I think people were not really understanding, but everybody has turned to the arts during the pandemic. That is one of the things that happened with me as I immediately pivoted to online learning. I started doing virtual classes and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, what can I do? I'm gonna create through this, I'm gonna create through with other people too. So I just think arts are important. I think that I'm glad it's being recognized, to be recognized as an artist by my community. I also want to acknowledge Metro Arts Studios, which is my art community in Bridgeport, and Bridgeport, my Bridgeport community, because I've grown more in Bridgeport than anywhere. And so I would be amiss if I didn't just shout out Bridgeport, because I literally have become who I am in the city of Bridgeport through the people of Bridgeport and the culture and community, and I love Bridgeport. I'm not gonna stay up too much longer because other people have to come up here, but I just wanna say that I'm grateful. I'm grateful to every soul who has supported me and been here for me through this journey, whether they're here or not, and I really wanna take a moment to acknowledge everybody who came before me that was not allowed to do what they came here to do. They did not have the ability. My ancestors who could not be artists or lawyers or doctors or writers, and I have the gift and ability to do that. And so every day I think about them when I'm doing what I'm doing, and I just hope that I make them proud. And I just want to honor them today. And my parents, of course. Thank you. Thank you.
𝗘𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗶𝗍, ladies and gentlemen. The Citizen Award recognizes an individual who has contributed significantly to the enrichment and the prosperity of arts and culture in Fairfield County through volunteerism, financial support, and/or advocacy. Our awardee this year is William D. Felton. Bill Felton has been board chair of the Westport. I'll give you a chance. Give you a chance to do that. Let me just tell you that he's been the board chair of the Westport Arts Center for over 10 years. And he was key in leading the multi-year effort to find and improve its new home as MoCA Westport on Newtown Turnpike. Bill and his family have also provided strong financial support to many other Fairfield County arts institutions and artists. His commitment to the arts, as well as his leadership, guidance, and philanthropy. Oh, philanthropy, we'll talk about that in a little while. Are an inspiration for us all. Please welcome William Felton.
Thank you, Jim. Everybody's comments seem to be on one track tonight. I've got a few to follow up on because I would like you to understand why I give. And it's, firstly, it's David Green and the Cultural Alliance that have been very instrumental in the arts here, as you've heard time and time again from Mr. Norton. I wrote some comments that I would like to share, and if I'm repeating the same theme about how important it is to give, please forgive me. But it's part of my soul today. I was here some 8 years ago when the highly respected Arthur Levitt, former chairman of SEC, was the primary speaker. And he talked about how important it is to give back to community through nonprofit organizations. And he was probably the most respected financier at the time. He guided the SEC, which oversees the stock market, and he was great. And his comments struck a chord with me. I applied those thoughts and escalated my involvement with the Westport Arts Center, now MoCA Westport, the Museum of Contemporary Art. I urge those of you who can give to our community some of your precious time and financial support. It's hard to give your time, but we do it. And it's very rewarding. Without gifts, many of these organizations will cease to exist. While the federal government today we just heard donated $50 million to the state of Connecticut. Nobody gets a big chunk of that. It's broken up. There are so many organizations that get little pieces, 10,000 at a clip, not millions. So it's dependent upon us to give. Without us, there isn't enough money for half of the charitable organizations to survive. Life's pleasures are measured many different ways, but I assure you, giving to local organizations will not only be greatly appreciated by them, but lifesavers for them, especially now with COVID, where all of our galas and fundraising events have been silenced. For me, my contributions to MoCA stands out among the most rewarding things I've ever done. Thank you to our incredible staff, led by Ruth Maness, our board members, and our many volunteers who work tirelessly. And there's a whole table of them back there, I think, and we're very grateful. I believe that our commitment to the community has really been a game changer, and it will only get better as we continue on. Our museum is high quality for visual arts. Our education program, led by Ann Greenberg, is awesome, if I do say. Ann is back there too somewhere, and we're very grateful. And musicians is another part of what makes us special at MoCA. We showcase up-and-coming musicians who have recorded, just starting their career, but all fantastic, and in different disciplines of music. Not all of which I relate to, but I do relate to how great they are. We went from punk rock to classical. A special thanks to my family and friends who've traveled from Florida, New York, Pennsylvania. Special thanks to John and Cindy Vaccaro for flying in from Greece to be here today. God bless you guys. I'm cutting it short there. I wish everybody a wonderful day, and thank you, the Alliance, for this special recognition.
She runs the show.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Felton. The Corporate Award recognizes a business that has supported the arts and culture in Fairfield County through encouragement, exposure, and patronage, or that has made a significant contribution to the economic development of Fairfield County by elevating the creative sector. This year, our award goes to Fairfield County Bank, whose community leadership has been evident for more than 150 years. The bank and its president, Daniel Berta, have been strong supporters of the arts in Fairfield County for decades, funding but also participating in the arts and cultural life in each town they touch. In just the last 5 years, the bank has donated $750,000 to 55 arts and culture nonprofits in the county. Dan Burt is not able to be here today, and so the award is being accepted by Stephen Wooters, Executive Vice President for Marketing. Thank you very much, Fairfield County Bank.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very much honored, our colleagues and I, to accept this for all of Fairfield County Bank. We got a great contingent here to really demonstrate how important this is to us. I didn't really come up with a prepared speech because, well, there's no light, so I wouldn't have been able to read it anyway. But the reality is, it's because it's really easy to talk about Fairfield County Bank and the things that it does for the community. You'd mentioned about the arts and things. For 150 years, we've done everything we can, the generations before us, to really make Fairfield County a great place to live and work. We support today over 350 different charities across the county for upwards of $1 million a year, which for a bank our size is pretty significant. Now, with that, though, what impresses me the most is the fact that our 300 and some colleagues put in about 4,000 or record about 4,000 hours a year in community service. Now, I say record because, quite frankly, we don't always do it in Laura. I promise when we get back, I'll log in more of my hours than we do. So it's probably a good bit more than that, and it's really great. But, when we talk about the 150 years, our country's actually been here for a lot longer. And Alicia really sparked a story that I'm a constitutionalist and I love the founding fathers. And one of the things that I always go back to is an old John Adams story. During the Revolutionary War, he was over in Paris trying to raise money for the war. And he would write letters home to Abigail. And in one of the letters, he talked about interaction he had with the Dauphin of France, in which the Dauphin asked, "Do you like the arts?" And his response was, pardon my paraphrasing, "Unfortunately, I have to study agriculture, politics, and war, so that maybe someday my children will have the opportunity to study mathematics, science, and engineering. And then maybe, if we're all lucky, their children may have the chance to practice music, art, and theater. And so it's not really a privilege to be able to do the arts, it's an obligation. It's an obligation for us to really honor the generations before us that have given us the opportunity to do this. And for those of us that have been successful in life, did we mention the QR code? Mention the QR code here. Those of us who have been successful in life, it's a source of pride to be able to support the arts so that we can tell the society stories through the arts and entertainment that are out there. And so I'll finish up with really saying that although we've been through 150 years so far, we look forward to at Fairfield County Bank supporting the arts and culture community for the next 150 years. And so thank you very much and really appreciate this honor. Thank you. Is it looking in the right direction? Okay. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I can't suck it in that long. Give me a hand. Give me a hand.
Thank you very much to Fairfield County Bank. The Educator Award is up next, and it recognizes an individual, nonprofit, or creative business that's made a substantial impact on the arts and cultural education of students and citizens of Fairfield County through innovative approaches to programming, access, and/or advocacy. Our awardee this year is someone who's no stranger to a lot of us here. Her name is Pam Lewis, Executive Director of Connect Us, a Bridgeport-based youth development organization that she founded in 2017 after decades of working with thousands of young people. Connect Us offers a suite of 3 after-school programs that leverage a performance-based approach to youth and community development. Pam has created partnerships with local schools, nonprofits, businesses, and residents across Fairfield County as the programs of Connect Us help young people to develop the skills they need to be successful in life. Please welcome Pam Lewis.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it's won. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, so the whole wide world would hear. Thank you. Thank you. Thought we needed a little singing in this place today, right? Good morning. And thank you. I am grateful and humbled and honored today to be here alongside these other inspiring leaders and organizations. It's a remarkable group. Let's give everyone another round of applause. I'm thrilled to be here to have the opportunity to celebrate arts and culture empowerment for Fairfield County. As so many have said already, I think arts and culture are vital for humanity. They are a way for people from different backgrounds to come together, to create something new together. And I think all of us here know how critical that is, especially here in Fairfield County. At Connect Us, we use play and performance as our primary approach to youth and community development. Playing, performing together helps people break down barriers, build trust, and take risks together. And we do that, and when we do that, we can try new things and we can see new possibilities for ourselves and our communities. Play is also a way for us to create joy and happiness. And that's so vital, especially right now. In our most recent Connect Us newsletter, I wrote about how creating spaces and opportunities for people to experience joy and happiness is a radical act. Now, I never thought I would say that. I mean, I've been on thousands of demonstrations, chanting for gay rights, for civil rights. I've worked on hundreds of political campaigns, and I never thought I would say that creating joy and happiness is a radical activity. But I'll say it again. Creating spaces and opportunities for people to experience joy and happiness is a radical act. Too many days are marked with devastating news, whether it's violence, public health crisis, growing economic disparity, climate change, social, political division, and unrest. These problems are immense, and it can feel difficult to believe that anything we can do can make a difference. But we can. We can make a difference by creating joy and happiness together. And at Connect Us, we do this in big and small ways. When we're developing our annual Martin Luther King Day show at the Klein Auditorium, when kids are auditioning to be in a See You on Stage show, young people ages 5 to 25, and everybody makes it, even if they sing every note off key. We have fun pretending we are trading stocks in a stock trading simulation in our Connect Us Academy. We laugh our way through the uncomfortable moments of a public speaking workshop. We share with each other and listen to one another without judgment at our youth leadership team. We keep showing up every week, and these seemingly small acts make a big difference. And that's what Connect Us is all about. We are building bridges across Fairfield County by bringing people together from different races, different backgrounds to see new possibilities for Fairfield County and to co-create a new kind of community, one small act at a time. I'm honored that I get to do this important work with and alongside my fellow honorees here today. I'm hopeful about the future of Fairfield County because of all of you. And I'm excited to work together to keep making our state, our country, and our world a better place for everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
That was inspiring. Yes. And also, you seem great.
Thank you so much.
Pam Lewis. Pam Lewis. And I guess there's nothing else to say except amen to everything that she just said. Our next award is called our Nonprofit Award. It recognizes an organization or leader that has made a distinct contribution to arts and culture in Fairfield County through visionary leadership, commitment to advancement, community engagement, and/or creative innovation. The award goes to City Lights and its executive director, who's very quick to get out of the seat, Suzanne Kochmar. This Bridgeport-based art gallery promotes the artists of Bridgeport, training them as educators, assisting them write grants, championing public arts projects, organizing Make Music Day, creating the annual Greater Bridgeport Pride event, perhaps most famously creating the Bridgeport Art Trail, which in its 13th year in 2021 saw more than 6,000 visitors streaming through citywide open studios, attending gallery shows, music, and poetry slams. Please welcome Suzanne Kochmar.
Good morning, Fairfield County, and Bridgeport's in the house today. Woohoo! Wow, we have 3 honorees, and all the other honorees, congratulations. It takes a lot to have a nonprofit that's an art nonprofit in Bridgeport survive for 18 years, serving the community through art. We realized that short and sweet statement was a big umbrella thought and mission that we find we can be really flexible and try to serve the community in all the ways that we can. But there's a lot of people I need to recognize for that. The first one is my husband. He's the head schlepper. He's the head schlepper, I call him. He drives a mean U-Haul and art handles a lot of great art for us and pours a good glass of wine. And he's always got my back. And thank you for letting me take a risk and run an organization with my head and with my heart. And when we get to the point that we can't do that and combine it anymore, it's time to stop. I truly believe in that. Another person is an old friend, 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗍𝗪, an artist that I've known for a long time. He's right here with his wife, Fran. And 40 years ago, when we were both 5 years old, he had the initiative to start the first City Lights in Bridgeport on Fairfield Avenue with another dear friend who unfortunately passed recently this month, 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗍𝗪, who had the vision with Dan to start City Lights. He also started the public access television station that was at UB at the time. And he also started the concerts on McLeavey Green, the Sweetport concert, so that was him. So thank you, Ruben, God bless you. I hope you're with us today. I want to thank all the artists because, you know, all the wacky ideas that I may have, if I don't have artists who have my back and who want to be part of it, who want to share their time and their vision and their hard work and work with us. And honestly, I find them now as brothers and sisters. And two of my brothers are here, Rick Reyes and 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗵𝗺𝗪𝗀𝗪. Thank you so much for all that you do, all the work they do, especially with their kids, with our children. They are so beautiful and they really believe it. And they are an inspiration to me every day to keep doing the things that we do. We all know that during this COVID time, we've all been working 14-hour days, trying to get those grants in and everything else in the reports that we have to do and getting it all going. But I have to say that for any nonprofit to be in existence after what we've gone through, or most organizations, it's a major accomplishment. But one of the things that City Lights knew we needed to do, because we advocate for the artists, we believe they are professionals and they need to be compensated professionally. And so we knew when COVID hit, and a lot of them were gig employees, they didn't have unemployment to fall back on. So we immediately started to think, how are we going to get our money in artists' hand? Because a lot of times, I just heard it yesterday again, exposure. Artists can do it for exposure. You know, the exposure does not pay the rent and it doesn't put food in your belly. So we need to pay them. So, and respect them. And respect their process. The creative process is messy, but it's very valid and it's very whole. And, you know, we heard all these other benefits. Well, it just, you gotta trust them and let them do their thing. So during the COVID years, the 2 years since March 2020, I remember it very well, City Lights, with our very small budget and our small organization, has facilitated over $150,000 in the form of work, sales, referrals, commissions, and successful grant writing to our local Bridgeport artists, which then supports our youth and our community. But none of that would be possible if it wasn't for the intervention and the hard work of the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County, the Connecticut Office for the Arts, and CT Humanities, because you were that force, you were that conduit that got us that American Rescue Plan funds that were able to keep us going and also then to support our community back. So with that kind of money, some of the things that we're planning to do, well, Friday we're taking 50 kids, their families and chaperones, to see The Lion King at the Minskoff Theater, because we know that that was what we have to do with our grant money. We said we wanted to take kids on field trips, so we're looking forward to that. 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗪𝗍 going too, I can't wait. And then we're preparing for our 12th annual Greater Bridgeport Pride on July 23rd. We have an exhibit called Outworks. If anybody wants to send us a submission for work, please do. Allies are also welcome. And then I just want to say, I hope we see you in November at the Bridgeport Art Trail. It'll be our 14th year, and we'd love to have you be part of it. So thank you so much, and thank you for the honor.
We'll never get to the end of the show because you just stole my speech.
I did. It's getting to work as dress. Thank you. And congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you to City Lights. Our last award is the President's Award. This year, we make a special award, one that we don't make every year. The award goes posthumously to Alexandra 𝗪𝗪𝗪, a Westport resident who was a trailblazing lawyer, educator, and civil rights advocate. She was head of the New York State Advisory Committee to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights and chair of the Harlem Educational Activities Fund. It was her work there, serving 300 young people a year, changing lives from middle school through college, that sparked another project, the Norwalk Art Space. And yes. Envisioning a space to enhance educational opportunities for underserved students, promote underrepresented local artists, and provide the public an aspiring place to meet and enjoy the arts. She identified the former Christian Science Church next to Norwalk's Matthews Park and worked with Westport architect Rick Hogue to transform it. Alexandra passed away before construction was completed, and the building opened 1 year ago this month. ADK for Alexandra 𝗪𝗵𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗵𝗁. ADK House is named in her honor, and the renovation was recently recognized by Preservation Connecticut with an award of merit. Accepting the award, please welcome her husband and president of the Norwalk Art Space, 𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗵𝗺.
Thank you all very much. I'm a poor stand-in for Alexandra, but I'll do my best. First, thanks to David Green for nominating us for this, and thanks to all of you for the award. It's really, Alexandra would have been honored to be amongst the other recipients of awards today, so really appreciate it. One of the things that I've heard a lot today about, which Alexandra would have loved, is the passion for the arts. One of Alexandra's favorite mottos was, which I often disagreed with, but that's another matter, was nothing great is ever achieved without passion. And it's that passion that made her want to start the Norwalk Art Space. She had a simple idea. Some of it came from her work with HEAF, the Harlem Educational Activities Fund. But basically the idea was give artists free studio space, free exhibition space, and in exchange ask them to teach kids tuition free. So everything is free, everyone is welcome, and the goal is really to try to close what Alexandra was passionate about closing, which is the opportunity and equity gap. Particularly for kids. That was one of her main focuses. And lo and behold, it seems to be working. Thanks to many of you in this room, we've really reached out to the community to support us, and many of you here have advised us along the way, including David. Of course, it takes a team to make it all happen. And we have assembled a spectacular team of folks to help run the space, including 𝗪𝗵𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗵𝗺, Katie Sullivan, who are sitting at the table there. Stephanie Thomas is chairing our first year celebration, June 23. Hopefully, many of you can join. We've been running for a year now, and we're hoping to make it more community-based and more sustainable. So use the QR code today to support this group. But we have another QR code for you sitting at our table. So really, again, I want to thank David for nominating us for this. David was one of the first tours I gave of the space when it was still under construction. And since this was all Alexandra's idea, and I'm more of a math, science, business guy, I said to David, is this really a good idea? Is there really a need for this? And he looked at me, and I remember the look clearly, like, what is wrong with you? And I took the hint and carried on with Alexandra's mission, and I'm pleased to do it. So thank you all very much again. Really appreciate it.
And that brings us to the end of our morning event. I find it inspiring and quite moving to be surrounded by people who are doing the work that our honorees are doing. I'm amazed to think that Ben Franklin was saying to the Dauphin in Paris a couple of 200 or 300 years ago. Because I have children who are in the arts. I've spent my entire career working in the theater and in the business. My daughter's now directing. She's directing a play in the Berkshires this summer. She was just directing a play in New York City, 𝗓𝗃. My son Greg is a member of a band called the Sweet Remains, and I just read in the paper this morning, he doesn't bother to tell me this, that they're going to be at the Levitt Pavilion again this summer on July 24th. My daughter-in-law, whom many of you may know, is a woman named Kelly O'Hara. She has been a star of many Broadway shows, and now she's on The Gilded Age on TV. And so being a part of this community really is, this event, and being surrounded by all these people doing all kinds of wonderful things, makes me want to sing a song. Because Pam Lewis did, and she lit the fire. And I have a song that I think might be appropriate and kind of fun to end on, because it's about money. Did I mention money this morning? You really have a song about money? Yeah, I do, actually. Here it is. One day me and Mitch was talking about how fast our money goes. She said I would be a rich man if lots of nickels filled my nose. As understanding as we were this year, I explained to her, if I had a nose full of nickels, I know just what I would do. I would give them to folks who were having tough times. I know that would bring me a heart full of dimes. I would spend the dimes on streetcars to take poor kids to the zoo. That would leave me with one streetcar token. Oh, my heart would be broke, but not broken. So as I said to Mitch, to be poor and not rich, I would sneeze all my nickels at you. You want to say a word?
Just thank you, everybody, for coming. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next year. Yeah. Could all of